What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Movie News Monday. I believe it's episode 5, but if it's not, I do apologize. Hope everybody's doing well. Thanks for tuning back into the show. We got a couple updates, a couple Hollywood delays, a Hollywood cancellation, and we have an update in the highest grossing rated R films of all time. So if you already haven't, please check out last week's podcast with Miguel and I. Also check out his latest episode of TV Inquiry. If you want to check out all the other previous Movie News Mondays, you can check out the playlist. I'll link it in the description below. If not, you can just find it on the YouTube channel. If you already haven't, please subscribe to the YouTube channel because this is a YouTube exclusive. If you're a fan of the podcast, appreciate it. But if you want more of us, you can only watch this on YouTube. There's no audio version of this show, with the sole reason in the hopes that you guys subscribe to the channel. We do have an episode coming out Wednesday. And yeah, so we're going to jump right into it. In terms of the box office, I'm not going to give you the whole shebang on where everything lands. We'll go over it on Wednesday. With Miguel and I will go over it on Wednesday like we normally do. But just so you know, Barbie did not come in first place, and Blue Beetle, I believe, made more than what it did last week. So Miguel and I will be talking about that, and we'll find out where Gran Turismo came out because it had a soft open or a weirdly open because you were able to see it on Monday, but the official release wasn't until last week on, I believe, Wednesday. So we'll see where it's hanging. But yeah, we're just going to jump right into it because it's pretty interesting. So first things first, Disney has announced that the Spider-Verse Chronicle, which is completed in shooting, has canceled the TV show entirely, and Disney is currently looking to shop it to other platforms. I can immediately see Netflix picking this up. It is unfortunate that the cast won't even be under the Disney brand. I don't know why they decided to get rid of it, just because I think it's such an awesome it was an awesome film. They're awesome books. But unfortunately Disney is not moving ahead, regardless of it finishing up production. Obviously the only person that I recognize from this cast is Jack Dylan Grazer, who was in the Shazam films as Freddie Freeman. But unfortunately, the film isn't moving forward. If we have any updates on it on Wednesday, we'll definitely give you that. Give you that update. However, Warner Brothers amid of the strikes has announced that that 3 big films have moved its release dates. Obviously, we heard about Dune Part 2, that it was moving. It was 100% moving back to into 2024 due to the strikes, or due to the strikes going on, obviously freeing up the IMAX release for Captain Marvel, because The Marvels wasn't going to have an IMAX release, and it now is, because Dune Part 2 is now being pushed back. It's being pushed back to March 15th, 2024. Not the biggest, issue in the world, in my opinion, because in all honesty, I feel like this film would do much better in the summer or closer to the summer rather than having another November release, or I think the first one had an October release. But I think this is going to pan out a lot better for the film franchise than it being on the cusp of the holiday season when I feel like nobody goes to see a film like this. They're all going to want to go and see the family films that tend to come out during the holiday season. So I think the March release, pushing it back, you're pushing it back 4 months, in my opinion, not an issue. Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire, which was finally the direct sequel, or I believe it's being considered the direct sequel to the Godzilla 2014 film, has been pushed back less than a month from March 15th. So Dune Part 2 is taking Godzilla: The New Empire's original release date at March 15th, and Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire is moving back less than a month, taking the Lord of the Rings animated film original release date at April 12th, 2014. The biggest delay is this Lord of the Rings animated film. The film is titled Lord of the Rings: The War on Rohirrim. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, I do apologize. However, that film is moving back a little more than 8 months, 8 months and 1 day from its original release date, because it's now going to be released December 13th, 2024. I think that's the biggest, I don't want to say loser, just because I feel like anytime a Lord of the Rings film comes out, people are just stupidly excited. This is the first one I would actually be like watching as a fan of Lord of the Rings. Because I mean, the only one I saw in theaters was, I think, the Battle of the Five Armies, and I was kind of like, I'll just go see it. I've never seen any of the Lord of the Rings, but I feel like they're kind of the biggest. They're the ones seeing the biggest delay at 8 months and 1 day. However, I do think this film is going to do better in a Christmas release as opposed to where it's being put. That's just me personally. I think December is always a great time to release a fantasy action film like this one, especially being an animation film. Unfortunately, the strikes have a lot to do with this. But I think, I think delays aren't all that bad. It does free up, in my opinion, like, me personally, Godzilla and Kong. I don't think anybody's gonna be releasing a film that weekend, or that week that it's opening. Just because I'm gonna be honest, I feel like the Godzilla films, they do really, really well, or they're received just really, really well by fans, and I feel like a lot of moviegoers are gonna want to be seeing that as opposed to what's actually going on. So, or what's actually coming out. But I think like Dune Part 2, again, in my opinion, this is a big W for Warner Brothers, just because they can put Dune in a more appropriate release date. As well as the Lord of the Rings, I think that's best in December, or even November. I feel like people would definitely go see it then. Okay, so moving on. I know I didn't get a chance to mention it in the topics that we'll be discussing, but also Cinema Day. At least I have a buddy who is a manager at a film theater. I'm not gonna mention what chain. If I already have in the podcast, you'll have to just go back and look for it randomly. But he gave me a little bit of insight about how many people were going to see movies that day. Roughly 6,000 people went to the movies that day to see a number of films. Obviously, so all the films. So he texted me a list of all the films that were playing in his theater. So American Graffiti for the 50th anniversary. Obviously, he had Barbie, Blue Beetle, Gran Turismo, The Haunted Mansion, Jurassic Park got a 30th anniversary release. Throughout over the weekend, the last voyage of Dedimer, the Make 2, The Trench, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1, Oppenheimer, Sing Along, The Little Mermaid. Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. The Sound of Freedom, Strays, the Super Mario Bros. Made a return to theaters over the weekend. Talk to Me, and of course, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem. So he had a lot of people coming in throughout the day. His as a manager, his most expensive day was before the hour of 11 a.m. That's what he was saying. Their first rush to open up. These are the numbers he was texting me were a collection of numbers that essentially were a total. So before 11 a.m., he had over 1,000 people coming in, and then we saw rush hours at between the hours of 1 and 2, 4 and 5. 7 and 8, and then 8 and 9, as well as 10 and 11, between the hours of 10 and 11. Everything else drops under 500 throughout those hours. But obviously the most watched movie was actually, it looks like at his theater, it was Barbie. Or was it? No, it was actually Gran Turismo. So at his theater, Gran Turismo was the most watched film collectively, because they're so it also, he was telling me that the numbers that he texted me are also different compared. So like it's per showing per like format. So there are 4 Gran Turismos or 5 Gran Turismos, because that's the different formats offered at his theater that he works at. So as opposed to like Barbie, who is showing 2, there are 2 different formats that you can see. Blue Beetle has 3. So collectively, yeah. The winner was Gran Turismo at his theater with over 1,000 people. Barbie had looks like about like close to 800 people seeing it. I think it's awesome that people went out. We'll have an exact number on Wednesday's podcast, but this is just a little preview. Again, appreciate my buddy. I'm gonna try and get him on a podcast soon, just to talk about like his experience working at movie theaters, and just because I know he's been there prior to the pandemic, so how it was before the pandemic, how it was during the pandemic, and now how it is post-pandemic. But hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Movie News Monday. As always, I'm Adam. Again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out all the previous episodes on the YouTube channel of Movie News Monday, as well as TV Inquiry, because you don't want to miss them. Again, they're YouTube exclusives. If you listen to the podcast audio format, you cannot find these audio versions of these shows anywhere else other than our YouTube channel. So go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell notification, share it with somebody, give us a like. Tell us what you think of every episode. Tell us maybe we haven't discussed something that you'd like us to discuss. Let us know what you would like us to talk about, because obviously we have a wide variety of films and TV shows that we do love. Just unfortunately, a lot of the mainstream stuff does get pushed to the front and center of all our shows. But essentially, yeah, as always, again, thank you for the support. If you haven't already, check out our social media links down in the description below. Give us a follow on our social medias. We'd appreciate that. But again, as always, I'm Adam, and this was episode 5 of Movie News Monday, Sic Parvis Magna.